Hello. This week's Torah portion Re'eh summarizes the Jewish dietary laws. Foods that Jews may eat are called kosher, kasher, meaning fit, in the sense of fit to eat. Let us review what these foods are and speculate on possible reasons why we're not allowed to eat the other foods. The Torah says, quote, "You shall not eat any abomination. These are the animals that you may eat: ox, lamb, and kid, gazelle, deer, and antelope, ibex, chamois, bison, and giraffe, and every animal that has a split hoof and has a hoof cloven into two hoof sections, and chews the cud, is among the animals that you may eat. These you may eat of all that are in the waters. All that have fins and scales you may eat, but whatever does not have fins and scales you shall not eat. It is unclean for you. You may eat every clean bird, but these are those from which you shall not eat," and follows a list of 21 birds. Every flying insect is unclean to you. You shall not eat anything that dies of itself, that is, an animal not properly slaughtered. You may give it to the stranger who is in your cities, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, for you are a holy people to the Lord your God. You shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk." Unquote. From these verses and similar ones, the rabbis extracted the following rules. Animals that do not both chew the cud and have split hooves may not be eaten. Both conditions must be there. For example, the camel, the hyrax, and the hare which chew the cud but do not have split hooves are forbidden. The pig, which has split hooves but does not chew the cud, is also forbidden. Also, the products of forbidden animals, such as milk or eggs, are also forbidden. The Torah only lists birds that are not kosher. Does this mean all the other birds are okay? No. Rabbis are reluctant to allow birds with no tradition of being eaten because they might be related to the forbidden ones. Fish that do not have both scales and fins, such as shellfish, may not be eaten. Neither can reptiles or amphibians. Not all kosher animals are eaten. For example, the giraffe is kosher, but it is not eaten because of the high cost, the difficulty in restraining it, and the fact that it is an endangered species. Also, although there is no biblical basis for it, some foods are deemed more unkosher than others. Pork is an example. As someone once put it, shrimp is naughty, but pork is anti-Semitic. Also, animals must be properly slaughtered to be fit to eat. Proper slaughtering is called shahita. The Talmud elaborates, quote, "Land animals which were created from the soil are rendered fit to eat by severing both vital passages, that is, the windpipe and the gullet. Fish which were created from the water do not require any special slaughtering. Birds which were created from a mixture of soil and water are rendered fit to eat with the severing of either one of the two vital passages." Unquote. Thus, carrion or nevela is forbidden. Animals with significant defects or injuries may not be eaten. 70 categories of abnormalities disqualify them. Insects may not be eaten except for some locusts. This is why all vegetables must be checked for infestation before they can be eaten. Blood may not be eaten and is removed through salting. Some fats, called helev, may not be eaten. The sciatic nerve of a permitted animal may not be eaten, because Jacob's sciatic nerve was damaged when he fought with the angel. One may not eat the limb torn off of a living animal. This is even one of the 7 Noahide laws, which apply to all mankind, and not only to Jews. Other categories of prohibited foods are untithed foods, tevel, food grown during the first 3 years of the life of a tree, orla, fresh grain until a certain time, wine that may have been used for idolatrous purposes, yain nesech, and finally leavened item called hametz during the week of Passover. There are also 2 kinds of mixtures prohibited by the Torah. The first is mixtures of milk and meat. This requires Jews to use 2 sets of dishes and utensils, one for dairy and one for meat, and to wait up to 6 hours after eating meat before eating dairy. Some also wait up to 3 hours after eating dairy before eating meat, but most don't. Fish are considered neither milk nor meat, a category called parf. However, Sephardic Jews avoid eating fish with milk. Jews are not even allowed to derive any benefits from mixtures of milk and meat, although they are allowed to derive benefit from other non-kosher foods. The second prohibited mixture is plants or animals that were crossbred or kilayin, because the Torah says, "You shall not sow your field with a mixture of seeds." Because of this phrasing, some authorities allow eating that mixture but not planting it. In addition to all the foods prohibited by the Torah, the rabbis added new ones on food produced by non-Jews, although observance varies. For example, wine produced by non-Jews is not allowed because of the old fear that it may have been produced for idolatrous purposes. Today, such possibilities are low in the Western world, but it's easier to ban all such wine rather than pick and choose who is trustworthy enough at the risk of offending the rest. Milk produced by non-Jews may include milk from non-kosher animals, and cheese produced by non-Jews may contain non-kosher rennets, and so they are not allowed. The Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, even prohibits all bread and food produced by non-Jews, although produced by is subject to interpretation. It even prohibits food the Talmud considers unhealthy, such as mixtures of fish and meat, saying it may be eaten in the same meal but not mixed together. Again, observance of these rabbinic prohibitions varies widely, even among Orthodox Jews. In the 1960s and 1970s, the kosher food company Hebrew National ran a massive campaign aimed at the general public, claiming that their food is good and healthy because, as their slogan says, we answer to a higher authority. Since then, many non-Jews have regularly bought kosher food. In fact, today, non-Jews account for 80% of the kosher market in the US. That market includes Muslims, Hindus, vegetarians, vegans, people allergic to dairy products, people who believe kosher is healthier and kinder to animals, philo-Semites, and others. Now we come to our central question. Why are these injunctions in the Torah? What are possible reasons for kashrut? The first reason is because God said so. Kashrut is an example of a hok, that is, a commandment whose rationale is not obvious. Our tradition allows us to speculate on possible reasons for commandments, as long as we continue to observe them, no matter what conclusions we reach. A second reason is that kashrut severely limits the killing of animals for food. It directs us to slaughter animals in a humane fashion, to minimize pain. Some say the laws of kashrut encourage us to be vegetarian, by making the consumption of meat difficult. And separating milk from meat reminds us that milk represents life and meat represents death. A third reason may be health-related. We know now that incompletely cooked pork can cause trichinosis, and that shellfish easily accumulates bacteria and toxins. This is an unlikely reason, because the Torah says, remember, quote, "You may give unkosher meat to the stranger who is in your cities, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner." Surely, if that food was harmful, the Torah would not be telling us to give it to non-Jews to eat, and kashrut would be among the 7 Noahide laws, binding on all mankind. A fourth reason is that kashrut teaches self-discipline. Actually, any constraint achieves that goal. A fifth reason is that kashrut encourages cohesion of the Jewish people, but it also discourages socialization with non-Jews. A sixth reason is you are what you eat. The Ramban, Nachmanides, writes in 13th century Spain, "The birds and many of the mammals forbidden by the Torah are predators, while the permitted animals are not. We are commanded not to eat those animals that have a cruel nature, so that we should not absorb these qualities into ourselves." The Talmud notes that all fish that have scales also have fins, so the Torah could have written only scales without mentioning fins. Then it explains cryptically, Rabbi Abahu said, as was taught in the house of study of Rabbi Ishmael, "This is so that, as stated in Isaiah, the Torah may be magnified and made glorious." This is understood to mean that even a word that appears unnecessary adds to the greatness and glory of the Torah. A contemporary rabbi explains that our soul is influenced by what we eat. Kosher birds are not aggressive. Kosher animals must have split hooves which are used for fleeing, as opposed to claws which are used for attacking. Kosher animals must chew the cuds so they can flee when attacked and still retain enough food to survive. Kosher fish have fins to help them flee and scales to protect them. Therefore, fins and scales make them the hunted and not the hunters. Finally, there are mystical reasons. Isaac Luria, the great Kabbalist, taught that everything possesses a divine spark. When something is used for a worthy cause, this divine spark achieves the purpose for which it was created. Thus, eating kosher meat and using its energy to perform a mitzvah elevates the divine spark in it. But when eating non-kosher meat, no such elevation takes place, even if the energy is used for a worthy cause, because God disapproves. Shabbat Shalom, Bon Appetit, and L'chaim.